Good morning and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be thinking about our guts, and not so much our gut health and how good our gut biome is and things like that, which we may talk about in another video, but really about our guts and whether they help us in our long distance endurance events and whether they're really tuned up to help us. Our guts are a vital part of the whole machine, and if your gut doesn't work, well then you're not going to perform well. So let's get out on the road and have a think about what we can do to make sure our guts don't let us down. So, as we said, for performance, taking on nutrients is paramount. If you can't take on glucose and you can't take on the fuel you need, your performance is going to suffer and you're going to find it really hard to complete long rides. But the trouble is, when you're riding, your stomach is competing with your muscles for blood. If you're getting hot, your blood goes to your skin to help cool you down, so you're competing with that. So really, the stomach's having a tough time. So you really need to start training your stomach to be able to work in those conditions and take on fuel at the same time. And race day or event day isn't the day to sort of hope for the best. So it's really important that as you start doing training or as you start riding longer, you start using the fuel you want to use on race day or on event day, so your stomach gets used to using it. So as you're riding, as I said, you want to be trying to gradually start using more fuel. Start training your gut to be able to eat some solid fuel in the beginning of a ride, some bars and things like that, and mixing it with some liquid fuel too. The next step is to try to increase the amount you can eat. It's amazing how over the last few years what people thought was possible has completely changed. Like 10 years ago, people were thinking 60 grams of carb an hour is more than you could have. People were thinking 60 grams an hour was maximum. But nowadays, pros are taking on board 100 to 120 grams an hour. So it really can build up. You really can take on board more if you train for it. It is very important though to think about how much fuel you actually need. If you're going around at 15 miles an hour, you're going to need a lot less fuel an hour than someone who's going along at 20 miles an hour. So if you check out on Strava or on whatever app you use to record rides, check out how many calories you're using an hour. If you're using, say, 500 calories an hour, maybe 60 grams is okay. 70 grams of carbs an hour would be enough. So you can practice using that. If you know, like I said, you ride faster and you're burning more carbs, it's quite easy on an online calculator to calculate how many carbs you need for that sort of calorie burn. There's no point overeating. That's not going to make you any faster. It's probably just going to give you GI issues. But remember, however good your engine is, unless you're fueling it well and your stomach's prepared for that sort of volume of carbs, the engine isn't going to perform. And another thing you can do is, if you know what sort of fuels you're going to be eating on the event, or you know what sort of bars or nutrition they're giving out at feed stations, it's quite a useful idea to actually get that and practice eating those sorts of things and those drinks on your ride. So again, your stomach is trained in absorbing that sort of nutrients and those particular bars or gels or whatever it is you're using. So the key thing basically is to make sure your stomach is tuned up to using the amount of fuel you think you're going to be using on a ride. And like I said, you can gradually build that up and train it to absorb more and use the fuel you're going to be using. So again, it's used to that. And if you're finding this content useful, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe if you can, to really help the channel grow. And lastly, what you can do to make sure your gut is ready for endurance is just to make sure you've got a really healthy gut and make sure you do all the things that create a good a good healthy gut in the first place. Things like sleeping really well, trying to avoid stress if you can, making sure you eat, you know, loads of fruit and veg and legumes and things like that to really help your stomach bacteria do the best they can. When you're eating, try to eat more slowly to help that food digest. And eating fermented foods are really going to help your gut, along with eating less processed food, which does, you know, nothing to help your gut. So make sure you've got a healthy gut to start off with. Train for the fuel you're going to use. Gradually try to increase the amount of carbs you're taking on board, and your fueling for your event should go really well. So I hope you found those tips useful. Don't forget to drop in the comments anything you do to help fueling on race day or an event day. And until next time, bye for now.